justification by faith, yung kaligtasan, ang pag-aaring ganap na ginawa ng Diyos sa bawat isa sa atin. Ito ay libre na ibinigay, hindi hindi sa ating bahagi, kundi sa bahagi ng ating Panginoong Hesus. Siya yung may gawa nito. Libre niyang ipinakaloob. Pag-aaralan ngayong gabi ay may kinalaman po sa justification by faith. So, ang title po nito ay Jesus and Justification po. Kapag narinig natin yung salitang justification, kapag binanggit natin yung about justification by faith, ang nasa isipan natin lagi ay yung mga epistles or writings of Paul. So ngayon titignan natin ano ba ang sinasabi ng ating Panginoong Hesus about sa justification by faith. So dito sa ating pag-aaral makita natin na ang ating Panginoong Hesus hindi niya in-expound yung topic na ito na systematic, technical na kagaya ni Apostol San Pablo. Pero makikita natin kung paano tila baga ipinahayag ng ating Diyos yung tema about justification by faith in a narrative ways. Kaya titignan po natin yung ilang mga parables o yung mga story na kung saan ay nagpapahayag ng katuruan ng ating Panginoong Hesus tungkol sa justification by faith. Tingnan po natin ang unang parable, unang story na makikita natin sa Matthew chapter 22 verses 1 to 14. So, titignan natin yung parable, yung story of the wedding feast, ay naabot niya yung climax na kung saan ay nandiyan yung frustration ng hari. Bakit? Alam po natin ang kwento. Siya po ay nagsugo upang imbitahan yung mga somebodies. But those somebodies, they rudely rejected yung wedding invitation. Kaya dito ay nag-utos muli ang hari doon sa kanyang mga servants to go out into the highways and hedges and round up all the nobodies. So, pina-imbita niya yung mga nobodies. Both bad and good. So, one can easily imagine all of the surprise and joy manifested by this raffis assortment. Imagine natin inimbitahan lahat ng mga nobodies. At imagine natin kung paano napuno yung venue doon sa royal wedding party. Hindi lang ito isang regular, hindi lang ito isang ordinary wedding feast. Ito ay isang royal wedding feast. Ito ay isang royal wedding party. Pero sa gitna ng pagdiriwang, dito sa kwentong ito, dito sa parable na ito, makikita natin yung very disturbing and shocking turn. Ano po yung nangyari? We know the story. The king arrives at the festivities to check out the guests, to make sure that everyone is properly attired for the occasion. So, tinignan niya kung lahat ay properly attired para doon sa okasyon na yon. He finds one who has presumptuously refused the offered wedding garment. Although the text of Jesus' narrative does not explicitly say that all had been offered a free garment, but the powerful implication is that they had. how would it have been possible for all of these nobodies to afford a garment fit for a royal wedding po? So, uh, ang kung titignan natin yung it implies dito na provided na yung wedding garment, ano. Kasi kung titignan natin mga mahihirap, mga dukha, mga nobodies ay hindi nila kayang mag-provide ng kasuotan. Kagaya ng nabanggit natin kanina, hindi ito isang regular, hindi ito isang ordinary na wedding feast o wedding party, kundi ito ay isang royal wedding feast. Ano po? So, na-expect din na yung kasuotan ay lalapat doon sa pagdiriwang. So, dito it implies na kung titignan natin, lahat ay pinrovide, lahat ay ibinigay sa kanila, pati yung kanilang kasuotan. So, most certainly, this wedding garment is a symbol of the righteousness of Christ that is freely offered to all who answer His salvation invitation. So, dito, yung wedding garment ay sumisimbolo sa katuwiran ng ating Panginoong Jesucristo. Binanggit dito yung freely offered. So, libre na ipinagkaloob ng ating Diyos para doon sa mga tutugon, doon sa kanyang paanyaya para sa kaligtasan. So, napakalinaw, most certainly this is a vivid metaphor, very clear metaphor for the forgiveness and perfect standing that the Lord offers without payment on the part of the destitute, sinful nobody. So bago tayo pumunta doon sa pangalawang parable, ay gusto ko uli i-highlights, gusto ko uli na i-note po natin ang justification by faith, yung kaligtasan, ang pag-aaring ganap na ginawa ng Diyos sa bawat isa sa atin. Ito ay libre na ibinigay, hindi sa ating bahagi, kundi sa bahagi ng ating Panginoong Hesus. Siya yung may gawa nito. Libre niyang ipinagkaloob. So, yung part natin sa kaligtasan, yun ay galing sa ating Panginoong Hesus, hindi galing sa atin. So, binanggit dito yung napakalinaw na metaphor ng pagpapatawad ng ating Diyos. Sino yung pinatawad ng ating Diyos? Yung mga destitute, sinful, nobody. Kung titignan natin, dahil sa kasalanan, ito yung kalagayan ng bawat isa sa atin. We're nobody. We're sinful. We're destitute. Kagaya ng mga inimbitahan doon sa kasalan na yon. Pero ang ating Diyos ay nag-alok po siya ng ng paanyaya sa bawat isa sa atin. At kung tayo tutugon, naka-prepare, nakahanda na yung katuwiran ng ating Panginoong Jesucristo, sa righteousness of Christ. So, hindi po katuwiran natin, kundi yung katuwiran ng ating Panginoong Jesucristo. So, punta po tayo sa pangalawang parable. Makikita natin sa Matthew chapter 20 verses 1 to 16. Kung titignan natin yung setting dito, ay it is a time of the grape harvest. Ang ubas, hindi yan kagaya ng isang kamatis o yung mga kamatis. Ang kamatis, pwede mo siyang i-harvest na kahit hindi pa siya gaanong hinog. Hindi ko alam kung tama yung term ko, yung medyo manibalang. Hindi ko alam kung ginagamit lang yun sa ibang ano. So yung kamatis na medyo malapit pa lang mahinog, pwede na siyang i-harvest. Kasi kung ibabiyahe mo yan, papunta doon sa marketplace, pagdating doon, pwede na siyang mahinog. Ah, pero yung grapes, hindi pwede i-harvest ng overripe at saka yung medyo pahinog pa lang. Ang grapes, ang kailangan i-harvest siya yung exact time na hinog siya. Kasi kung hinarvest yung isang grape na hindi pa ganong hinog, ay hindi yan mahinog, masisira siya. Kapag hinarvest natin na sobrang hinog naman siya, overripe siya, masisira siya, mabubulok siya. So, yung setting dito binabanggit, it is a time of the grape harvest. Ibig sabihin, yun yung exact time na talagang pipitasin na. Bakit? Kasi hinog na. Tama yung panahon ng pagkahinog at pagkapitas. So, yung paghinog ng isang grape at saka yung pagpitas, pag-harvest diyan, kailangan sabay parehas yung panahon na yon. So, kung titignan natin yung story, yung parable, the story then proceeds with the master going to the marketplace and hiring workers early in the morning and agreeing to pay them a penny to work the whole day. So, yung situation, however, must have really been ripe, and the third and the sixth, 9 and 11 hours, he goes to the marketplace and hires more workers with the promise that he will pay whatsoever right. So, naghanap siya ng mga mag-harvest at meron silang kasunduan. So, nung third hour, nakakuha siya. Pero siguro medyo kulang pa yung mga laborer. So, pumunta uli siya sa marketplace 6, 9, 11 hours. Kasi kailangan ng maraming mag-harvest. Hindi pwedeng ma-overripe yung mga ah, grapes. Ano? Okay. So, titignan natin the obvious point of the parable is twofold. In God's kingdom, the redeemed salvation status is not based on works. Everybody is paid the same, no matter how little or much they work. Salvation is by a living relationship to the householder, not by works. Sa ating kapanahonan ngayon, mga kapatid, kung i-apply natin ito, siguro yung ibang nag-work ng naunang nagtrabaho, nung third hour, nung umaga, at saka yung pangalawa, siguro pupunta sa labor para idemanda itong ah, nag-hire sa kanila. Kasi bakit pareho yung sahod nung nauna at saka yung nagtrabaho lang ng last 1 or 2 hours. Ano? So, ibig sabihin, ipinupunto dito na bagamat para-pareho yung sahod nila, sa gaya na nabanggit natin dito, everybody is paid the same no matter how little or much they work. Bakit po? Salvation is by a living relationship to the householder, not by works. Kasi kung by works ito, sigurado na yung una na nagtrabaho. So, pangalawang punto, far from being saved by works. The next obvious point is that it is simply a great privilege to work in the vineyard of the Lord. And this is the second truth, that the people who work all day miss. It is part of God's grace to share the labor with Him in His vineyard. And in reality, the first hour workers were the most blessed and privileged. not the 11th hour workers who only got to share 1 hour with the Lord in His saving labors. So, kita po natin dito, no, bakit mas blessed yung mas mahabang panahon. Kasi yung mas maraming oras, mas nauna, umaga pa lang nag-start na siyang mag-harvest, magtrabaho, sapagkat nagkaroon siya ng maraming pagkakataon na makasama yung householder, yung master dito. Hindi kamukha nung last 1 or 2 hours na pagtatrabaho. Okay. So, ang sabi dito sa Christ Object Lesson ni Ellen G. White, God's reward is given not according to our merit, but according to His own purpose. Men should think they could do something toward earning a place in the kingdom of heaven. They would imagine that they had made certain advancement. The Lord would come in to help them. Thus, there would be an abundance of self and little of Jesus. The reward is not of work, lest any man should boast, but it is all of grace. He who grudges the reward to another forgets that he himself is saved by grace alone. So it's not by work. It's about relationship. It's about by grace. Ano po? So, merong akong i-share na isa pang parable. Makikita natin ito yung parable about the Pharisee and the publican. So, makikita natin ito sa Luke. Hindi ako nakagawa ng PowerPoint presentation. Pero sa Luke chapter 18 verse 10 to 14. Gusto kong idagdag ito sapagkat ito ay malinaw na itinuturo din sa atin yung teaching ng ating Panginoong Jesus sa pamamagitan ng story, sa pamamagitan ng parable na ito about the justification by faith. So, alam po natin ang story, Luke chapter 18, verse 10 to 14. Meron dalawang lalaki, a Pharisee and a publican, pumunta sa temple. So, this is probably the most obvious of all Jesus' illustration of salvation through justifying grace. Ano po? So, dito makikita natin, he explicitly uses the word justified to refer to the status of the penitent publican. Ano po yung setting dito? The setting the setting is prayer time at the temple. Yung Pharisee at saka yung publican, a tax collector. Bakit po nandun sila sa templo? Para magkaroon ng conversation with God. But what is quite obvious dito, yung Pharisee is not only in conversation with God, but it appears that most of the conversation is with himself. He prayed thus with himself. And the most of his prayer took the form of self-congratulatory and spiritual triumphalism. Ewan ko kung tama yung English, spiritual triumphalism. Nandun siya para manalangin, makiusap sa Panginoon, pero sarili niya ang kanyang kinakausap. Anong sabi niya? Papasalamat po ako. Ako ay nakakabigay ng tithes, offering, nakakapagayon. Papasalamat ako sapagkat ako hindi kagaya ng isang maniningil na buwis na ito. So, carefully note po natin yung contrast between the two. Pharisee is proud of his righteousness, both what he avoided, yung extortion, yung injustice, adultery, and he accomplished fasting and tithing. So, in other words, he feels quite secure yung kanyang relationship sa ating Diyos because of his morality, because of his religious observances and financial stewardship. So inisip niya na secure na ako ng aking kaligtasan. Tiyak na ako ng aking kaligtasan. Bakit? Dito yung kanyang morality, religious observances, and financial stewardship. Now, most certainly, all of these virtues were commendable. Ano po? So, but the problem is that one doing the commending was the Pharisee himself. Hindi ang ating Panginoong Yesus. Hindi ang Diyos. Yung sarili niya mismo ang nagbibigay ng binibigyan niya ng commendation yung kanyang sarili. So this point becomes rather obvious when the Pharisee's attitude is contrasted with that of the publican. Alam po natin, the taxman brings nothing to God but his great and desperate need, which is expressed in the humility born of genuine sorrow for sin and pleading for the mercy of God in the light of his desperate moral and spiritual condition. So ano pong point ng parable na ito? Yung story of the Pharisee and the publican. Justified dito yung pinakapunto, the indisputable point of the story is this: sinners, both Pharisees and publicans, are justified not by their good works but by the sheer mercy of God. It was the penitent publican, not the self-righteous Pharisee, who went down to his house justified. Makikita natin sa verse 14. So, ang tanong ngayon ay, is it fair to say that this story strongly implies that none of the works of sinful humans could ever form the basis of our acceptance with God? So, dito sa tatlong parables na pinag-aralan natin, so ang pinaka main points na binabanggit dito, no human work can form the basis of acceptance with God. Justification is entirely an act of God's mercy, received through faith, not earned through effort. So, dito po natatapos yung ating presentation. Kung meron po kayong clarification, meron kayong isang idagdag o mga question, pwede po tayo magkaroon ng sharing.